Emily was 33 years old, and from the outside, her life looked calm and complete. She lived in a small, quiet house with her husband, Henry, a place filled with soft light, familiar routines, and the kind of silence that felt safe. Their life was simple. They worked during the day, shared dinner in the evening, and talked about small plans for the future. Nothing dramatic. Nothing broken. At least, that was how it looked. But inside Emily's body, something had been changing. For months, she woke up feeling exhausted, as if sleep no longer reached her bones. Mornings became heavy. Getting out of bed felt like lifting a weight she could not see. Her arms were slow. Her head felt full, dull, and cloudy. Even after a full night's rest, her body acted as if it had not rested at all. She told herself it was nothing. Everyone gets tired, she thought. Life can be busy. Work can be stressful. Henry noticed before she did. He watched her move more slowly through the house, pause too long at the kitchen counter, close her eyes as if the world had suddenly grown too loud. He asked gentle questions. "Are you feeling okay? Did you sleep well?" His voice was careful, full of concern. He was a good husband, the kind who paid attention, the kind who worried quietly. Emily tried to smile it away. She said she was fine. She said she just needed rest. She worked at a big company, after all. Stress was normal. Everyone said so. But Henry did not agree. One evening, as they sat together in the living room, he reached for her hand and held it tightly. His eyes were serious, almost afraid. He told her this was not normal. He told her he was worried. And then he said the words Emily had been avoiding. "You need to see a doctor." Emily hesitated, but she nodded. Maybe he was right. Maybe there was an answer. Maybe this strange tiredness had a simple explanation. As they made the appointment, the house felt calm again. Safe. Hopeful. Yet beneath that calm, something was already wrong. Something was wrong with Emily's body. But even more wrong was what everyone kept telling her. Dr. Milton's office did not feel like a normal clinic. The floors were polished and silent. The walls were white and smooth, decorated with expensive art that felt cold instead of comforting. Everything looked perfect, clean, and controlled. Emily sat in the chair beside Henry and folded her hands in her lap. The air smelled sharp, like chemicals and money. For the first time that day, her chest felt tight. Dr. Milton was a tall man with a serious face and a calm, practiced voice. He asked Emily many questions. How long had she felt tired? Did she have pain? Dizziness? Headaches? Emily answered carefully, trying to explain something she did not fully understand herself. Henry sat close to her, listening to every word, his hand resting protectively over hers. The examination was quick. The doctor listened to her heart, checked her blood pressure, and studied his notes. When he finally leaned back in his chair, Emily's heart began to race. She held her breath without realizing it. Then Dr. Milton smiled. "Mrs. Emily," he said, his voice smooth and confident, "I have good news. There is nothing wrong with you. You are perfectly healthy." The words hit Emily like sunlight after a long storm. Perfectly healthy. She laughed softly, almost in disbelief. She told him how tired she felt, how heavy her body was every day. He nodded politely and explained that stress could do powerful things to the mind and body. Work pressure. Modern life. Nothing serious. You need rest, he said. Perhaps a vacation. Relief flooded the room. Emily turned to Henry and smiled. He smiled back, but something in his expression felt tight, unfinished. Still, she was too happy to notice. She thanked the doctor again and again. The problem was simple. The answer was easy. As they stood to leave, Henry stopped. "Wait here," he said gently. "I forgot to ask the doctor something." Emily nodded and sat in the waiting area. The office door was not fully closed. Through the small opening, she saw Henry step back inside. He reached into his coat and pulled out a white envelope. Thick. Heavy. He handed it to Dr. Milton, who quickly slid it into a desk drawer without a word. Then the door closed. Moments later, Henry returned, smiling. "Everything's fine," he said. "Let's go." Emily stood up slowly, her happiness suddenly thinner than before. Why would a healthy diagnosis need a secret payment? The days after the appointment were supposed to feel better. Emily told herself that the doctor had said she was healthy, and healthy people did not worry this much. She tried to move through her life as if nothing had changed. She woke up, went to work, smiled at her coworkers, and pretended that the heaviness inside her body was fading. But it wasn't. The tiredness stayed. Some days, it felt even worse. Her head ached. Her vision blurred without warning. One afternoon at work, as she stared at her computer screen, the room suddenly tilted. The words on the screen melted together. Her knees weakened, and for a moment, everything went black. She caught herself on the edge of the desk just in time. Mrs. Darcy, her boss, hurried over. She was an older woman with kind eyes and a sharp mind. "Emily, this isn't the first time I've seen you like this," she said softly. "You don't look okay." Emily tried to laugh it off. She repeated the doctor's words like a shield. "I'm healthy. It's just stress." Mrs. Darcy frowned. "Healthy people don't almost faint at work. Maybe you should see another doctor." Another doctor. The idea stayed with Emily long after she returned home that night. Henry noticed her silence at dinner. He reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "You're fine," he said warmly. "You just need rest." The doctor said so. "Let's not overthink it." He said it every day. Like a rule. Like a command. Emily wanted to believe him. One evening, Henry was in the shower. His phone buzzed on the table. Emily had never looked at his phone before. Trust had always felt natural between them. But something inside her shifted. Her hand moved before her mind could stop it. The message was short. "The next payment is due next week. Please don't be late." It was from a contact saved as Dr. Milton. Emily's heart began to pound. Her fingers shook as she saw the call history. Many calls. Too many. This was not a favor. This was not a one-time gift. It was an agreement. Henry stepped out of the bathroom, smiling. "Everything okay?" Emily forced a smile. "Just tired." But inside her, something fragile cracked. The truth was still hidden, but her trust was already falling apart. The next morning, Emily made a decision she never thought she would have to make. She did not tell Henry. She did not argue or ask questions. She simply said she was going to work and walked out of the house with a quiet fear sitting in her chest. For the first time in her marriage, she was keeping a secret, not to protect someone else, but to protect herself. She traveled to a women's clinic in another town, far from Dr. Milton's perfect office. The building was small and busy. The chairs were worn. The air felt human. Emily felt weak as she sat across from a new doctor, a woman named Dr. Lauren. Her voice shook as she described the tiredness, the dizziness, the confusion, the way her body no longer felt like her own. Dr. Lauren listened without interrupting. Her eyes stayed focused, serious. When the examination was finished, she did not smile. "I don't want to frighten you," she said carefully, "but you don't look well. We need to run tests." proper tests. The results took days. Emily lived in a fog of fear and pretending. Henry cooked her favorite meals and told her she was improving. She nodded and smiled, even as her heart raced with every passing hour. When the call finally came, Emily returned to the clinic alone. Dr. Lauren closed the door and asked her to sit. Her face was calm, but heavy. "You are not healthy," she said. "You have a serious brain illness. That's why you feel this way. The good news is that it can be treated. But treatment should have started much earlier." Emily felt the room spin. Relief and anger crashed together inside her. She wasn't imagining it. She wasn't weak. She was sick. When Emily explained about Dr. Milton and the white envelope, Dr. Lauren's expression changed completely. "That isn't just wrong," she said sharply. "It's illegal. He lied to you. And someone paid him to do it." Emily understood then. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't fear disguised as care. Someone she trusted had chosen fear over her life. Emily returned home with steady steps and a quiet fire in her chest. Henry was in the kitchen, smiling as if nothing in the world had changed. He asked about her day, his voice warm and familiar. Emily did not answer. She placed Dr. Lauren's papers on the table in front of him. Henry's smile disappeared. His hands began to shake as he read the words. The color drained from his face. Slowly, he sat down and buried his head in his hands. When he finally spoke, his voice broke. "I was scared," he whispered. He told her about his mother. The same illness. The long hospital days. The slow loss. He said watching Emily show the same signs terrified him. He said he couldn't face it again. So he chose denial. He found a doctor who needed money. He told himself it was temporary. Just a little more time. Just one lie. He said he did it because he loved her. Emily listened in silence. Then she spoke. "That wasn't love," she said calmly. "That was control. You decided what I deserved to know. You decided my life was less important than your fear." Henry cried. He begged. He promised to fix everything. But something between them had already died. Love does not lie. Love does not protect itself by destroying another person's truth. Emily packed her clothes that night. Each item felt lighter than the last. She called Mrs. Darcy, who opened her home without questions. In the weeks that followed, Emily began treatment. She also began the process of divorce. It was not easy. It was not painless. But it was honest. Fear had tried to steal her life quietly. Truth gave it back. Sometimes the people closest to us are the ones who hurt us the most. And sometimes, the bravest act of love is choosing yourself. True strength is not pretending everything is fine. True strength is facing the truth, even when it hurts.